Biden was 81 years old, the oldest sitting president in American history. For years, Republicans attacked his mental acuity. Democrats dismissed it as right-wing propaganda. But the signs were leaking out. An early 2024 poll showed that 86% of voters, including most Democrats, were concerned about his age. Even a special counsel report suggested Biden had significant limitations in his memory. The Wall Street Journal reported his team had been limiting his schedule, personal interactions, and unscripted exchange all the way back to 2021 to hide what they call the good and bad days. It's June 27th, 2024. Inside CNN's Atlanta studios, more than 51 million Americans are watching live. President Joe Biden is answering a question about taxing billionaires when his sentence begins to unravel. His words blur together. He drifts into an unrelated thought about COVID. His gaze goes vacant. For a moment, he seems lost. Then, without warning, he pivots to a completely different subject and delivers a line that leaves the room stunned.
If we finally beat Medicare.
Dead silence. Moderator Jake Tapper turns to Trump. Trump grins.
Well, he's right. He did beat Medicare. He beat it to death, and he's destroying Medicare.
In that moment, 3.5 years of carefully managed appearances, tightly controlled schedules, and assurances about Biden's fitness, all of it comes crashing down. 24 days later, the President of the United States will do something no incumbent has done in 56 years, quit the race, which is exactly what LBJ did in 1968 when he knew he was going to lose. I'm Charles Denyer, and this is Chasing Power, where we break down the moments, the scandals, the battles, and the players that shape American politics, both past and present. Today's episode, Too Frail to Lead, the untold story of Joe Biden's health fallout.
Welcome to Chasing Power, the path to Pennsylvania Avenue, a Charles Denyer Productions podcast.
Ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country.
Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
And the people who knock these buildings down will hear all of us soon.
The audacity of hope. America, you've vindicated that hope.
And we will make America great again.
To understand how one 90-minute debate ended a presidency, you need to know three things. First, the concerns were always there. Biden was 81 years old, the oldest sitting president in American history. For years, Republicans attacked his mental acuity. Democrats dismissed it as right-wing propaganda. But the signs were leaking out. An early 2024 poll showed that 86% of voters, including most Democrats, were concerned about his age. Even a special counsel report suggested Biden had significant limitations in his memory. The Wall Street Journal reported his team had been limiting his schedule, personal interactions, and unscripted exchange all the way back to 2021 to hide what they call the good and bad days. Biden's own physician said he had, excellent health profile. Whatever. The whispers kept growing. Something wasn't right. Second, the debate was supposed to end these whispers. Biden's team pushed for an early debate, June instead of September, to prove he could still perform. No live audience and microphones muted when not speaking. They thought the format would help. Biden even spent a week at Camp David preparing. The plan, show America he was sharp, vigorous, ready for 4 more years. Showed them the happy warrior, the Biden who had beaten Trump in 2020. Instead, from the opening seconds, what America saw was an absolute horror show from the sitting president of the United States. And third, Democrats had no backup plan. Biden had cleared the entire primary field because no serious challenger emerged. So, by the time the debate happened, Biden was the presumptive nominee. The Democratic National Convention was less than 2 months away. There was no plan B until June 27 forced them to find one. So let's rewind to that debate between Trump and Biden. Atlanta CNN studios, 9 p.m. The lights are bright. Biden walks out. His gait is stiff. He positions himself behind his podium. Trump takes a spot. The split screen shows both men. Trump looks alert, almost amused. Biden's face is tense. He immediately looks confused. Jake Tapper asks the first question, what will you do about inflation? Biden begins. His voice is raspy, hoarse. He blames Trump's COVID response. But something's wrong. The words come out slowly. They run together. He's quoting statistics, but the numbers don't land right. His eyes look lost. Viewers at home lean forward. I know I did. They feel it instantly. This isn't a bad answer. This is something breaking in real time. And the night doesn't stabilize. It deteriorates. Biden pauses mid-thought, stumbles into unrelated points, and struggles to recover. What was supposed to be a disciplined argument turns into a jumble of half-finished ideas. His pacing collapses, his thoughts scatter, and the breakdown is suddenly undeniable. As for Trump, he pounces.
I really don't know what he said at the end of that sentence. I don't think he knows what he said either. Look.
Democratic strategists watching backstage are texting each other in panic. But here's what nobody knew at the time. Biden's own inner circle is about to fracture. Biden's team tries damage control. They blame a cold. First Lady Jill Biden tells the press, "You were amazing," as Biden shuffles off stage. But the dam is broken. Within hours, major Democratic donors are calling party leaders. The New York Times, yes, the Biden-friendly New York Times, runs an editorial telling the president to drop out. Thomas Friedman, who calls himself Biden's friend, writes that Biden has no business running for re-election. Congressional Democrats start the whisper campaign. Not publicly, not yet. But in private calls and in closed-door meetings, the message is clear. He cannot win. Polls show Trump pulling ahead in every battleground state. On July 5th, ABC News' George Stephanopoulos asked Biden directly, "If you're convinced you can't beat Trump, will you drop out?" And his response becomes instant history. And what does he say? He tells Stephanopoulos, "It depends on if the Lord Almighty comes down and tells me that I might do it." But the pressure intensifies. On July 8th, Biden rails against Democratic elites on MSNBC, saying, "I don't care what those big names think. I'm not going anywhere." He's defiant, angry, and he's dug in. Then, July 13th changes everything. Trump survives an assassination attempt. His favorability surges to its highest point in years. The Republican convention becomes a coronation. And Biden, well, on July 17th, he tests positive for COVID. While Trump gives a triumphant acceptance speech in Milwaukee, Biden is isolated in Rehoboth Beach. The contrast couldn't be starker. Trump as the survivor, Biden as the sidelined elder. Behind the scenes, the dominoes were falling. Nancy Pelosi calls Biden. She's pessimistic about his chances. Chuck Schumer visits Biden in Delaware, telling him it's over. By July 19th, 30 congressional Democrats have publicly called for his withdrawal. Privately, the number is much, much higher. On July 20th, Biden meets with his closest advisors. They look at the numbers, worsening polls, vanishing party support, Senate races in danger, House seats at risk. There's no path for victory. None. That evening, Biden begins planning his exit. By the morning of July 21st, a Sunday, he's fully committed. That afternoon, a letter appears on X saying the following: "While it has been my intention to seek re-election, I believe it is in the best interest of my party and the country for me to stand down." No incumbent president has dropped out this close to an election since LBJ in March 1968. Joe Biden waited until July, 107 days before Election Day. It's unprecedented, historic, and absolutely chaotic. Minutes later, he endorses Kamala Harris. The Lord Almighty never came down, but 16 days after saying only God could make him quit, Joe Biden quit anyway. Now, Biden's defenders argue he made the selfless, patriotic choice. His brother Frank told CBS News it came down to his overall health and vitality, that the president put country over ambition, they say. And here's where it gets complicated. Was Biden's debate performance really about cognitive decline? Or was it just a bad night amplified by a cold, over-preparation, and the unforgiving nature of live TV? Reagan had a terrible first debate in 1984 and came back to win in a landslide. Obama stumbled really bad in his first 2012 debate and recovered. Some Biden allies insist the panic was overblown, that Democrats lost their nerve over one bad hour. But the truth was already on the record. This wasn't one bad night. It was a pattern. As far back as 2021, the Wall Street Journal had reported on Biden's good days and bad days, a quiet acknowledgement inside the White House that not every day was safe for unscripted moments. His schedule was tightly choreographed. Press conferences were very limited. Public appearances were carefully staged. Even his remarks were often judged by cue cards and prepared prompts, designed to keep him on track and out of danger. The debate didn't create the story. It exposed the one that had been hidden for years. Here's the crazy part. Biden's exit didn't end the chaos. It supercharged it. The Democratic Party had 107 days to replace a sitting president on the ballot. Harris moved quickly to lock down delegates. But Republicans screamed that Democrats were overturning democracy by replacing the primary winner. And remember that Lord Almighty line? Biden went from saying only God can make him quit to quitting on his own. Was it the polls, Pelosi, Schumer, the realization he'd lose and take the Senate with him? Or did Biden, in those final days, isolated with COVID, finally admit what everyone else already knew? In the end, the real losers of the 2024 election were the American people, because we were misled. Biden's inner circle didn't just protect him. They constructed a political containment field around a declining president, filtering every interaction, scripting every appearance, and walling off anyone who might reveal the truth. The presidency became a staged, managed operation, run by aides and operatives while the man at the center struggled to keep up. And the media didn't merely miss it. They enabled it. Out of loyalty, fear of losing access, or ideological alignment, too many outlets treated obvious warning signs as off-limits. What should have been relentless scrutiny by the mainstream media was replaced by silence and complete spin. I'm Charles Denyer. Thanks for chasing power with me.
All opinions expressed are those of the host and do not reflect the official positions of any political organization, government agency, or private institution. This podcast is for news reporting, commentary, and criticism. We use excerpts, clips, and quotations from political events and other copyrighted works under the Fair Use Doctrine. All rights in those works remain with their respective owners. The views expressed are our own and do not represent any other entity.